Shalom, Mark. Go ahead and just give me a moment. Let me go ahead and post to the other channels real quick. Shalom, Adam Nath. Shalom, Bishop, Ryan. Whatever joining, Akim. Alright, well, this tablet's fucked. So let's go ahead and just skip that for right now. I was able to post to one of my channels, so either way, the message will get out if the Lord wants it to. So, Shalom Makiam. So today's lesson, we're going to go into what should the Negro, Latino, Native Americans do, okay? And the reason I bring this out is because of all the elections, drama, and BS that we're seeing online, which we'll go ahead and get into, because we're going to go over the discussions of what we Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, should actually be doing, instead of doing things like depending or relying on these Edomites, these devils that run the world right now. But before we get into that, let's give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rukakradash, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahushai, Bahashem, Rukakradash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today we're known as the Negros, Latinos, and Native Americans. Though we lost our true heritage, we're now coming back to our true roots of who we are as a people. So that being said, let's go and get into today's lesson, talking about what you Israelites, you Negro, Latino, Native Americans should be doing in these days instead of lining up to these false elections, which don't mean shit. Okay? Remember, your vote, or what's known as the popular vote, doesn't matter. It doesn't count here in America. What matters is the electoral vote, okay, which there's about 530 something votes, and they're for the most part they're all Edomites, okay. Edomites or some other nationality, but the point being is those are dyed in the wool establishment people who if anything are rarely ever swayed by the popular vote. Okay, they're swayed by the interest of the corporate powers and ultimately the Edomites that run this place. Okay, so all those people out there losing their shit because Gorilla or some fucking other celebrities who are caught on tape and don't want to be exposed for all their Diddy and Epstein fucking connections, right? It doesn't matter about what the hell those people are doing. It matters about what you're doing when it comes to God's narrative, okay? Because all that, all the distractions, all the people right now going for Trump or Kamala or any other avenues of some sort of salvation, you're all just running around in circles, okay? The world is coming to an end, and all this reorganizing, rearranging, it's like that famous idiom, right? You're just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing on the deck of the Titanic. It's going down anyways, and that's exactly what what's going on to America and really this world empire, which is the empire of the Edomites. And when I say Edomites, I'm referring to largely the so-called Caucasian and the Israeli races, which again, all those people, they all go back to a man referred to as Esau in the Bible. Okay, you can read about him in Genesis 25 and 25. Right now, we're currently living through the end of his empire. Okay, his empire is on its way out, and the Lord is causing it to implode upon itself. Right, He's causing the house of Esau, these Edomites, to fight against themselves. So all that left versus right paradigm, right, the globalists versus the American nationalists, all that infighting is really just the fighting of Esau's own household fighting against itself, and hence they're falling down. And you Israelites, you Negro, Latino, Native Americans that are attached to this system, you're gonna fall along with them. So again, what should you do instead of putting your hope and reliance on this false system that is on its way out? Well, let's go and read. Let's go ahead and start by reading Baruch 3 and 8, just so we could establish what the Bible says about our current state of us Israelites. Okay, this is Baruch 3 and 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, our power. Okay, so just as in the days of Baruch, okay, and he had gone to, and in this case here, he went to Babylon. Okay, Baruch was part of the southern kingdom of Israel, or what we would know today as the so-called Negros. Okay, he was amongst those tribes, and those tribes got exiled to Babylon, modern day Iraq, under the captivity of those people. Okay, and Baruch, because he was a man of the Lord, when he spoke, his words were not only were they poignant to that time that he was in, but they're also prophetic, meaning that they would also touch upon the future captivity of us Israelites. Okay, so just as it was true back then, it is true today. And why is that? Well, because let's read that again. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity. So us Negro, Latino, Native Americans, though we may have a nice house, a nice car, a nice job, a good education, right? We as a people are still in a state of captivity. Even the so-called Mexicans over in the land of Mexico, right, which everybody says, oh, they can't be Israelites because they got their own country. No, we fucking don't. We don't, the Mexicans don't own Mexico. Just like the Salvadorians don't own El Salvador. Just like the Jamaicans don't own Jamaica. Just like the Puerto Ricans don't own Puerto Rico, okay? We are simply servants in these lands that have been conquered by our oppressors, our enemies, and we've been given new names and are serving our enemies, are the people who are over us in those lands which at one point belonged to us, okay? And it's like as if you once had a house, right? And then your house comes and gets invaded, and the robbers decide to stay there. They take your identity, they take your cards, your birth certificates and everything, and they destroy you and they beat you until you forget that you were the owners of the house, and then they now let you start coming out, and they let you wash the dishes, clean up the household, and they let you stay there for free. And now, you know, they're now calling themselves by your name, and they've given you a title which says that you're allowed to stay there, right? So is that still your house? No, right? That house doesn't belong to you anymore. You're simply now a servant within that house, and that's the exact thing that's going on to all the Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans. Though we may dwell in lands that are named after us, remember, we lost our heritage, okay? We lost our heritage, and we are now serving our enemies in the land of our in the land of our oppressors, okay? Where thou hast scattered us. See, we are here because the Lord scattered us here, okay? We're not here because when we were over in Israel, we decided, hey, let's go on a trip around the world, and let's go ahead and migrate there and chill there until the end days. No, we are in the lands all over this earth and all amongst all people because the Lord had a grand design planned out, okay? And this involved scattering the Israelites into the four corners of the earth amongst all the people of the world, okay? And we're now waking up from this grand plan, and we're now seeing that we've been scattered around the world because of how we went against the Lord, how we disobeyed His law. But we're also now understanding that this is all part of the plan that the Lord used to scatter us throughout all the nations, and to make us basically a hidden target. It tells us in Isaiah, right, that the Lord hid us in His quiver, right, and basically He's going to wake us up in these end days, so that way we can come back and reclaim our rights. And when we wake up, we're not just going to be all John Shafts looking Israelites, right? We're going to be Israelites looking like every other nation upon the face of the earth, and this is all by plan, okay? And it says, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, right? So because we were scattered because of a curse, and in our scattering, we were always looked down upon as a people, right? We're always the lowest rung of society within this society, right? Hence, we're a reproach to these people, okay? And to be subject to payments, meaning we're not going to be the rulers of this land. So over there in Mexico, where you have the Claudia Sheinbaum, right, who pretends she's fucking Mexican, where her heritage goes back to Amalek, just like Frida Kahlo. A lot of people think Frida Kahlo is a so-called Mexican. No, her father was an Amalekite, a so-called Jew, an Ashkenazi Jew. Okay, so this is why a lot of people over there in the land of Mexico, who have a lot of form of substance, that are high up in the political class, they're not Mexican. They're people who have infiltrated our people and are now running the show. Like, for example, a perfect example of this is Bukele over there in El Salvador. A lot of people think he's Salvadorian, but he's not. He's Palestinian, okay? And he migrated to Salvador. His parents did, and they raised him up there. So he's been raised amongst our people. Now who knows? He may be an Israelite, right? Who is mixed amongst the Palestinian people over there, because again, a lot of Palestinians go back to the ancient Israelites of the Southern Kingdom that managed to stay in the land and would always mingle in. But it's very unlikely, just because of who Bukele is and how he's set up over there as the president of El Salvador, and he basically rubs elbows with all the globalist people. Fucking devil, man. Fucking hauling ass all the fucking way until he passes by. All to fucking go nowhere. Nowhere in a fucking fast pace. That being said, so like I said again, our people are under reproach where they're at. So again, a lot of times when you see people of our nationality in high realms, a lot of times those people are tares, or they're people of other nationalities portraying to be our people, right? Like Claudia Sheinbaum, in a couple of years, she's gonna fucking marry somebody else who's gonna more likely have some other sort of name, and then they're gonna fucking hide their nationality, and that's how Amalek and all these other nations work. What's one of the most richest so-called Mexicans? Carlos Slim. That motherfucker's an Arab, right? But people say, oh, he's the richest Mexican. No, he's fucking not. He's from Saudi Arabia or some shit like that, right? See, our people are constantly always being deceived, and we're having these false leaders propped up in front of us to mislead us Israelites into thinking, well, hey, look, if Carlos Slim can make it, I can make it. If Bukele can make it, I can make it. If Claudia Sheinbaum can make it, I can make it, right? And that's bullshit, right? And they do the exact same thing for the Southern Kingdom Israelites as well. They post up fucking LeBron James, Michael Jackson, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and all these fucking people, right? Jennifer Lopez, Mark Anthony, and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, well, if, they worked really hard, and, hey, if I keep, playing basketball, if I get really good, I'll make it. And they don't realize until it's too late that you have to fucking sell your soul and basically be a trained, trained actor to be in these sports things. Because again, all that sports it's all scripted entertainment, man. Just like WWE, okay? But that's a whole other lesson. So we'll go ahead and get back to this. Let's not digress. So, like we just read, right? We are stuck here in the land of our captivity, just as Baruch was stuck in captivity back there in Babylon, right? And we are subject to payments because this is a curse that came upon us. Verse 9, hear Israel being the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the commandments of life, give ear to understand wisdom. How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country, right? And what that means is our people, right? Our people, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, we think we have some sort of culture there, here in Mexico and South America, over Mississippi, South America, and all these different cultures that we managed to build and establish here. That's not our real culture, right? We've grown old in these lands of our enemies. And you see, what our real culture is over there in the land of Israel. Because again, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, we're the true Israelites. We were the original inhabitants of the land of Israel today. The people who are in the land today, the so-called Israelis, those are the false chosen people. Those are the people who the world will eventually come to find out that those are the false chosen people, the Antichrist that the Bible tells us to warn, to be on the lookout for, who are going to raise up the false Antichrist system and build the false third temple. Again, remember, the Messiah said himself, the third temple that's going to come is not going to be a physical temple. It's going to be a spiritual temple. And what is that? That temple is a temple within ourselves, right? The Negro, Latino, Native Americans.
I am God's son.
Beautiful, brother. You like go back to any of these people that you see on this list?
Time to change.
There you go. So the thing is the thing is a lot more people are waking up. But the thing is you gotta wake. Our people have to wake up to this truth, because you see, a lot of people are waking up to Christianity, Jehovah's Witnessism, Protestantism, a lot of false New Ageism. Okay, and what's happening is this is all in accordance to God's great plan, right? People who hear this truth, they either hear it and they understand and then they start going after it, or they hear this truth and they wake up and they're deceived by it, because what happens is this truth isn't for them, and hence this is it's a bad taste in their mouth, and they disdain it and they go away from it, and hence then they become condemned if they're Israelites. the brother, Malak bin Yashriel, brings out Isaiah 48:1. O ye descendants of Jacob, ousted, Salak Yakim. Salak Yakim. Gotta post it in English because, and this looks like it's only a part of it, but. Khan. Yep. Us Latinos, we're part of the Northern Kingdom. The brother, Judah tribesman, brings out Micah 2:2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Exactly, beautiful. Back to what I was talking about, how the true Israelites are ultimately going to be oppressed in the lands where we're at, all by our enemies, these Edomites, right? The people who systematically have come and taken over the lands where the Israelites had dwelt at, right? Not only have they taken over our lands, but they've taken over our heritage, our identity, and they're using our identity to basically perform all this wickedness that they're doing. Malak Yisrael. I'm going to put you on a timeout. There you go. So we got a bunch of fucking bug outs and stuff like that. So again, really, if you're a fucking teacher, why don't you just go out to the street and teach, okay? But yeah, a lot of our people are ultimately deceived by their own vain understanding, not realizing that you can't mix in man-made religion with what the Bible is talking about, okay? Because again, these man-made religions here are set up to dissuade and mislead you from the truth that's found in the Bible. So let's get back to this. Verse 10. How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead? Again, that talks about how us Israelites, how we are gonna basically dwell in the lands of our enemies all over the world, to where we're gonna even wax old, meaning that we're gonna be there for a long time. We're gonna build up culture, or should I say, the culture that we build in these areas which we inhabit. That's a sign of us growing old in those areas, right? We've been established there for a long time, okay? Just like you have the Creole, traditions down there in Louisiana, or like how you have the traditions there in Mexico with the Dia de los Muertos, the Days of the Dead, or over here the Indians, they have all their the Skywalker ceremonies, all that stuff. That's all traditions of old times that were established once we got moved over here into these lands. But those are not our original traditions, okay? The original traditions go back to the Bible, okay? And it takes extremely deep understanding and research to find this out, to find out, what they said we were practicing when they came and found us, right? You can find this in books like, Ancient Lands of the Promised Lands, Babylon, Timbuktu, right? All these books explain how a lot of our people, we had our old ancestral customs from Israel when they found us, but that ultimately was beaten out of us, and ultimately it faded from our memory, which again it was a part of the curse, that we would forget who we were. Verse 11, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave, meaning that we would become part of the other heathen nations. Remember, the thing that made us Israelites a special people is that we were holy, going back to the word separated, okay? We were separated from all these people of the other nations, okay? We didn't do as the heathens did. We separated our ways from them. Not only did we worship a different God, but we also had different customs and different beliefs, customs, and ways of living that these other heathens, they weren't bound. They didn't get down with that, okay? But now that we've waxing old in these countries where we've been spread out through, thinking that we're part of that land, or thinking that we were indigenous to that land, and and now we've assimilated that's the word, we've assimilated into these nations we're in, and hence we're now doing the exact thing that all these heathens are doing. That is a problem. We're not supposed to be doing that, right? We've joined ourselves with those that are going down to the death, down to the pit, okay? And we shouldn't be doing that, okay? Verse 13, for if thou hadst walked in the way of God, thou shouldest have dwelt in peace forever, okay? See, because ultimately, if we would have maintained the laws and kept the ways of the Lord while we were there in the kingdom, we would have ultimately not have been kicked out. And all these things that would have took place would have happened differently. But again, we went off, and the Lord had to ultimately punish us to fulfill prophecy that we would go off, and ultimately that the Lord would scatter us into the four corners of the earth. So let's go and get this. Because now that we're a lot of us are coming into our understanding of who we are, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and those whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, what do we do now that we found out that we're Israelites? Do we go and stand in lines to go vote in elections that don't mean shit, right? Do we try to build up this system that our enemies have built up and are using to oppress us? No, let's go ahead and read the Bible and find out what God says that we have to do. This is Deuteronomy 10 and 12. And now, Israel, what does Yahweh thy God require of thee, but to fear Yahweh thy power, to walk in all his ways and love him, and to serve Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai thy power with all thine heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of Yahweh and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. So there you go. That's what we have to do as Israelites. He doesn't tell us to go and try to start up some type of entertainment system, or try to, create music enterprises or any of that type of stuff. No, the Lord is telling us to keep his laws. Do the laws. Go back to the original commandments that we were made to follow. Okay, and with that, we will have good success. Okay, so that right there is plain and simple. It cuts it to the point. So when people are out there being like, oh, they come into this truth as a rapper or singer, right? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna make songs for God. God didn't command us to do that. Now, if you want to do it, that's all well and good, but that's on your time. That's you doing it. Okay, you're not doing God's work. Okay, so that's the main problem. Okay, and I'm not saying going out there making image. I myself make images, right? Posters and all that stuff, and that's all well and good. But you see, to say that that's the work that you're doing for God, that's not enough. You see, God never said, do this or just do that. And with all these, make hot dogs for God, make restaurants for God, put fringes on cars. God didn't want that. Okay. Now, if you want to do that as parts of you showing your works, for this truth, then that's all well and good. That's your walk. But that's not what the Lord commanded, and we got to remember that. Okay. This is why I come out here to teach this truth, because that is part of what God commanded me to do. Now, on the other side, after I've done my lessons, after I've done the street preaching, I then go and I go do my images. I go do other things as a bonus, right? As an addition to what the Lord commanded me to do, and that's totally fine. But again, especially this is why you see the apostles and the other brothers of Great Millstone getting on people out there who are doing nothing but music videos or nothing but fucking parties and different things, because that right there, they're doing that instead of doing the work of the Lord, right? See, those are the people who don't have videos, don't go out on the street ministry. And this happens a lot to the IUIC people, man. See, because again, IUIC, one, it's a straight up Christian church that's pretending to be a Hebrew Israelite ministry, right? And though they may teach the truth, they're basically teaching Christianity with a Hebrew Israelite twist to it, okay? And this is why you don't see the people in the IUIC camps making videos or lessons. And this goes for a lot of the other camps, like ISUPK camps, right? See, the leaders of those camps, that they're basically sold out. They've taken the bag by Esau, and this is how they're controlling the message, right? That they tell their workers, or should I say the people that they've taken advantage of, not to make lessons, not to do the work of the Lord. the thing that was commanded in the Bible for all of us to do. As Apostle Tahar says, right, there should be thousands of camps out there with people out there doing the work, spreading this truth, right? And that right there would wake up people a lot faster than going out there and putting on events and winter balls and festivals and making rap albums and all that bullshit. See, the thing is it's our people, unfortunately, are lost because a lot of the leaders over these people have misled them. So that being said, we now understand what the Lord requires of us, right? To keep his commandments and love him with all our heart and all our soul. Okay? So again, how do we do that? Well, we do that by following what the Bible says. Okay? Keeping the laws to the best of our ability in this book, which again, when you start to try to keep these laws, you start finding out how hard it is. But this is why you also then realize why we were so lucky that the Lord came and died for us, so that way we would have that grace when we don't fulfill the law perfectly, right? Which, by the way, we'll get into in a bit. I don't want to jump ahead real quick. So next, let's go and read this. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 15, because this ultimately is what happens to us when we do not follow what the law told us that we have to follow. Because again, remember, these laws of the Bible were largely given to the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the Israelites of the Bible. Before that, before Deuteronomy 28:15 or Deuteronomy 28, hey, Shalom, Carlos, the water for joining us. Before that, the other nations, along with the other heathen nations, they did get the law, okay? But they got the law in the past when they were part of, I guess you could say, the running, okay? Like, for example, the children like Ham, Shem, and Japheth, those were the sons of Noah. And Noah was given the law, which hence meant that his children were also given the law, okay? Now, God ultimately chose Shem and Ham and Japheth. They stopped, for the most part, God stopped dealing with them. Now, there's incidents when you go into those individual people's ancient history and ancient folklore, you see that they were visited by angels and they did, get information, but it was nothing of the sort to give them any sort of salvation. A perfect example of this is if you ever get into Zoroastrianism, which is basically the old ancient Iranian religion, okay? Basically, when you hear about the wise men, a lot of people call them the three wise men, which really, it doesn't tell us how many there were, but there's wise men from the east. Those people, a lot of biblical scholars believe that those were Zoroastrians, okay? Zoroastrians, the guy, he was an Elamite, okay? Basically, Elamites are the people who were the ancestors of the Iranians, Afghanistan people, Indian and Pakistan people, okay? The angels came to him, Zoroaster, that is, this Elamite, and basically revealed to him what was going to go on, that it wasn't his people that were going to be chosen, but that his people should help the good people of the world and help God to fight against Satan and to stay in the laws and to be good people upon the face of the earth and to go against Satan, and that one day God was going to come back and he was going to raise up his nobles, his holy nobles upon the earth, and it was their jobs to help us. Okay, they don't know that it's actually the Negro, Latino, Native Americans who are the holy nobles, but it's pretty crazy when you get into it. It's like looking at this Hebrew Israelism truth of the Bible, but from an outside perspective. That's what Zoroastrianism is, right? Again, it's not a religion. It's simply just a set of laws, which when you get into it, it's the laws that were established within Shem's sons, okay? And Elam, again, was just one of Shem's sons. Arphaxad was one of the 5 sons of Shem that the Lord chose, and then eventually through his line, that's where you get Eber, which is where Hebrew comes from, and then all the way down that line, that's where you get Terah, which is Abraham's father. Then you get Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then from that is where the 12 sons of Jacob come from, Israel, and then from him is where you get the 12 tribes of Israel, which is where you get the Negro, Latino, Native Americans from. Okay, so that being said, in these series of generations that went down, starting with Abraham, really is where the laws started to become more separated between the chosen people, right? Those being the line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the other nations which had older versions, older iterations of the law, right? Because again, just how they were attached to the people who were chosen. So again, these other nations did have a form of a law, but it was ultimately the Negro or Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Jacob's 12th son, which make up the Negro, Latino, Native Americans today, who have the full law that was given onto them. So hence, it's only us who can sin, because it was those laws that you would have to break, which would be which is what sin is, right? Breaking of the laws given by God to the Israelites, that is considered sin, okay? And those laws were only given to the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the Israelites, okay? And this is talking about that, right? This is Deuteronomy 28 and 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh, thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Does it say it's going to overtake everybody in the world? No. It tells you that they shall overcome thee. That's possessive. Okay? That's talking about a particular group of people. Okay? And this is why, for example, these laws, when we break them with, again, let's go to some of the more easy examples, right? When you eat pork, you eat shrimp, right? You celebrate pagan holidays. Hence, you're putting other gods in front of gods, breaking the first commandment of the 10 commandments, right? You do all these other wicked things that this society pushes upon us, then it's you who sin, and hence it's you that then gets the punishment or the curse. It's not the Chinese or the Edomites or the Egyptians or the Armenians that get cursed. No, they could eat pork all day, they could eat shrimp all day, right? They could celebrate Christmas till the cows come home, and they won't get these curses like we do, because again, we were the ones that received these laws, and hence because we received these laws, it was a contract made with us and God. So when we break these contracts, these laws, hence we then sin, and those curses fall upon us. Now we're not going to read all the curses, because we've gone through that already, okay? But if you want to, just go to Deuteronomy 28 and 15 and read all the way down until I think it's like 68. It's like way more curses. 68. And you're going to see all the things that are coming upon us, and you'll see that those curses only basically fall upon the Negro, Latino, Native Americans. These other nations, the Chinese, the Egyptians, the Somalis, all these people don't have the things described here as the curses that came upon their people. Okay, only the Negro, Latino, Native Americans has those things happen to, which again is another thing that the Lord said, that these would be a sign to the world, that these curses would be a sign to the world who the true Israelites are. Okay, so next let's go and get to this, because one of the biggest curses that came upon us is this right here. This is Jeremiah 17 and 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Okay? So that right there shows you, man, that the true Israelites would forget who they were, that they would lose their nationality, they would lose their heritage, they would forget who they were. And when you look at the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, we've all had a similar heritage, right? Where we've been conquered as a people, we've been enslaved in some capacity to another, and now we're basically being raised up again under our enemies, in the land of our enemies, which isn't our land, believing that we're different people, believing that we're Mexicans, that we're Americans, we're Cherokee, right? That we're First Nations and all these things, but we're not. See, we originally go back to the 12 tribes of Israel, the Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, right? So that's the thing that we got to ultimately come back to, is the truth of the Bible, that the Negro, Latino, Native Americans are the people that the Bible actually speaks of, right? We were the original Israelites, and it's only with that understanding that when you go back and you read the Bible, or should I say when you read the Bible, because a lot of our people say they read the Bible, but they've only fucking read a couple of scriptures here and there, and they think that's, and they say, oh yeah, I've read the Bible. No, a lot of our people simply have just heard it, and that's it, right? Even I used to do that back when I was in the world, right? But all you got to do, Akim, is you just got to listen to it, right? Put it on an audiobook, go on YouTube, my own channel got to, on the playlist section, you'll see I've organized the audio Bible, which includes also the Apocrypha in the proper order, and you can just listen to it, right? Listen to that instead of music, and you'll be good. It helps to fill up your soul. It helps to quicken your spirit, right? Awaken your spirit, because what's happening is you're hearing about your people, right? Because again, when you have that understanding that it's you that it's being spoken about when it talks about Israel or Judah or Issachar, Ephraim, and all these different words, all these different names or people, once you understand who's who in this play, then you understand how it pertains to you, right? And then hence you don't fall into that trap that these churches go into about, oh, we're all God's people, we're all the children of Adam. See, and hence the Bible actually makes more sense to you. So that being said, let's go and move on, because again, as we just read, it was the Negro, Latino, Native Americans who that we're going to lose our heritage, which we did, obviously. Okay, this is why we're calling ourselves Mexicans and like I said again, African Americans, Negros, Apaches, Navajo, and all these things, right? Because again, these are not new names. These are all names put upon us by our enemies, or names that we've taken upon ourselves because we lost who we were as a people. So that being said, let's go to Baruch. We're going to be spending a lot of time in Baruch today, because this is Baruch 1 and 20. Some water. This is Baruch 1 and 20. Wherefore the evils cleave unto us, and the curse which Yahweh appointed by Moses his servant at the time that he brought our fathers out of the land of Egypt, to give us a land that floweth with milk and honey, like as it is to see this day. You see, so just like in the time of Baruch, the curses that Moses told us would cleave onto us, they were cleaving onto the people in the time of the Babylonian captivity, just as they're cleaving onto the Negro, Latino, Native Americans today. Okay, these, again, like I said, these curses would be a sign unto our people and the rest of the world who would be the real Israelites, because only the real Israelites would have these curses upon them. Now the sad thing is that you have to actually understand that the curses described that would fall upon the Israelites in Deuteronomy 28:15 would be that sign. But a lot of these people, because they've been miseducated purposely by these churches, they don't understand that simple aspect of the Bible. And hence, because they don't know that, when they see those Israelis over there claiming to be the chosen people, who are prospering, own all the buildings, I bet you if you look at who owns this fucking strip mall here, you'll see a small hatter on the name on the deed to this property, right? Along with all the banks, all the big entertainment labels, right? They're the ones who are opposite of the curses spoken about in the Bible, right? They are not oppressed. They are the oppressors, right? They own everything, and they set the laws. They set wars up. They control governments. So the laws, or should I say the curses, don't fall on those Israelis, and they also don't fall upon the standard Edomites. And I'm talking about the Caucasians worldwide, right? They're the ones who are ruling everything for the top tribe, Amalek, that owns everything. Okay? So that being said, see, just as the curses were cleaving to our people back in the days of the Babylonian captivities, where Baruch was talking about it, history repeats itself, right? And it's because, and not only is it repeating itself just because that's the way history works, but there's a reason why it's repeating itself, and that's because the curses that fell upon our people back in that time during the captivity. This was around about 400 to 300 BC. Okay, that was what about like 2,300 years. 2,300 years ago. Okay, those curses are still on our people till today. Okay, but again, we have to be aware of this. That the things spoken about in the Bible are still active till today. So the things written in the Bible, they still pertain to today, because again, we're still living in biblical times. We're just we've been deceived by the devil, who has set up this elaborate system around us so we can forget that we're still in biblical times, that the Bible still has any relevance, even though they're living by the Bible's, living by the Bible's laws and statutes, though they pretend that they're not, okay? So that being said, is there anything more on that? Yeah, so verse 22 or 21, nevertheless, we have not hearkened unto the voice of Yahweh, our power, according unto all the words of the prophets whom he sent unto us. Right? So you see that? So right there, that shows you that the Lord, when he's dealing with our people, he's not going to come down out of the clouds and sit on your couch like he does in the how they portrayed him in The Simpsons, right? And he's going to talk to you purposely, or he's going to come to your dream and speak to you. People wake up and be like, oh, I had a dream, I seen God and he was talking to me. Chances are that wasn't God, man. More than likely that was, if you do have an intervention in a dream, because it does tell you that God does speak to us in a dream, it was an angel sent to give you a message, and then your dream is going to be something that's going to need to be interpreted, right? So you're never going to see God in a dream directly, right? Where you're going to see his face and all that stuff. That doesn't happen, right? God sends you these dreams, and we all know how dreams works, obviously. Well, most of us, actually, now I come think about it, because apparently there's a lot of people who have no inner monologue and they don't dream, right? But the point being is that dreams that are sent by God are going to be symbolic in nature. They're going to reference something, and ultimately, if you're a spiritual person, you'll understand what that means, right? But again, it's a lot of people not being spiritual. They don't understand the meaning in dreams. But again, it's a lot of the things that are shown in our dreams, they're not really meant to give direct interpretations. They're to affect and impact our psyche and our consciousness, so that way when we wake up, we instantly, we lose those dreams. They fade away fast, but hence our subconscious remembers them, and then we ended up ultimately doing what has been told in our Bible. This is why we get those deja vu moments. We're like, oh wait, I remember this, right? So that being said, this is verse 22. Let me finish my thought on that. So just like the Lord isn't going to come to us directly, the Lord starts to awaken his prophets. So in all the times of destruction that have come to the Israelites, the Lord has always awoken or raised up a prophet, so that way he could be the Lord's messenger to the people. So right now, in these end times here in America and around the world, there's a reason why you're seeing thousands upon thousands of men. Ultimately, it's going to be 144,000 that are going to be out here on the streets, on videos, making lessons, warning you Negro, Latino, Native Americans that you got to get right, because the Lord is on his way back. And before he gets on the way back, he wants the 1/3 of Israel, right? He really wants all Israel, but only 1/3 of Israel, it tells us in the Bible, are going to get right. They're going to wake up to what's going on, and they're going to prepare for the second coming of the Messiah. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So just like in the past, when the Lord would send prophets to warn our people, the Lord is doing that right now, okay? So that's why I said, what should you do? Well, you should listen to the men who are coming with the words of God, not these buildings, right, that have, false pastors in there talking about, prosperity is godly, right? You got to do all these things of the world. No, don't listen to them. Listen to the men who are coming out of the Bible, who are breaking this down, right? Plain and simple. And again, and if you don't believe it, you should go into the Bible yourself and read and learn about it for yourself, so that way you could check out what we're saying is true. And in doing so, the Lord will then awaken you if you're part of the elect. Okay? Verse 22. But every man followed the imaginations of his own wicked heart, to serve strange gods and to do evil in the sight of Yahweh B'Shem Hashai, our power. Right? So back then, you had Israelites who didn't want to come back to the Lord. They didn't understand that they had to actually come and serve God in a certain way. Right? They wanted to worship God and by worshiping Baal or worshiping Tammuz or doing all these different things. Right? But see, there's a specific way that we got to serve God, and that's the way that the Bible tells us. The brother Adam Nana brings out Wisdom of Solomon 1:15. For the foolish devices of their wickedness, wherewith being deceived, they worship serpents void of reason and vile beasts. Thou didst thou didst, that they might know that wherewithal a man sinneth, by the same also shall he be punished. Beautiful, beautiful, right? See, our people thinking that they're doing good by worshiping the Virgin Guadalupe or Santa Sangre or white Jesus Christ, Cesare Borgia, right? They think that they're doing good because they want to worship God in their own way, but God, in all his wisdom, is using their unrighteousness, what the gods that they're worshiping, the false idols they're worshiping. He's going to use those as their own punishment, right? And it's funny because when you look at Catholicism right now, that thing is completely off the fucking rails, right? Back when I was growing up, back in the 80s, right? Catholicism, you didn't hear about all these scandals and child molestations and the corruptions and all these false doctrines that they were pushing, right? It was still somewhat a bastion for piety and for reason. But now when you look at the Catholic Church, man, talking about, you know, trans people are God's daughters, and homosexual marriage is fine, and that the priest can marry them. See, what's happened is those people who worship the false gods of Catholicism, Cesare Borgia, the Virgin Guadalupe, and all these things, those idols are now a punishment onto them, because one, it's straight up idolatry, but in their face, and they're now seeing how the church is now changing to this monstrous, you know, beast, right? Hence why you're seeing at the Vatican Convention or Convention Hall, it looks like a big ass serpent, or they have that mural of Cesare Borgia and what looks like flames behind the in that same convention center, but where the Pope's chair is at. You're seeing all these different doctrines coming, which at one point, even in the Catholic doctrine, was considered heresy, but now being pushed by the Pope. You see, these are the punishment that the Lord is now doing upon these Catholics, and the same thing goes to the Christians, the Jehovah's Witness. But again, when you go, it's funny, if you look at the Jehovah's Witness headquarters, if you look at it over a satellite view of the headquarters, it's a straight up pyramid with an eye, right? The whole Jehovah's Witness campus, right? It's a straight up sign to Freemasonry, because that guy, I forgot his name, it escapes me right now. His house was a Freemason, which is why if you go to his cemetery tombstone, it's a fucking pyramid. Okay? See, and the thing is a lot of our people are deceived because they're following, what does it say here? It says that they might know, actually, it's in here. For the foolish devices of their wickedness. See, and that's ultimately what that is, right? And what else does the Bible say? 1:20. Nevertheless, or actually 22. But every man followed the imaginations of his own wicked heart.
There you go, brother.
Hey, so see, that's ultimately what's going on. Our people, they're following their skewed sense of morality. Because you remember, our people, we were raised up in this Babylonian system, thinking a certain way, and those certain ways have already been so defiled and so skewed that coming from the perspective of this world, you now think certain things are okay. Remember back before the 80s, homosexuality was considered abominable, even to presidents, right? But nowadays, and I know us older generation, we see that and we're like, oh yeah, of course, right? That's abominable. That's an abominable lifestyle. But when you look at kids that are being raised up now, where even pedophilia is being pushed now, right? Wait until those kids that were raised up with this sort of doctrine, raised up to be adult, they're gonna think that's everyday life. Oh, that's just Bob and he likes kids, right? Oh, kids can choose for themselves. Oh yeah, homosexuality, that's Timmy and Johnny, the couple down the street that have pedophilia sex, right? And that right there is gonna be considered the just normal in this wicked kingdom that we know as Babylon. And that's because, why? Because people have followed their own ways, their own imaginations, their own heart, which ultimately is skewed. It can be modified, it can be diverted. But when you place your foundations on the truth of the Bible, God's words, you now have a steady level to operate from, okay? And when you have that steady foundation, then you understand the true measure of good and evil, okay? And that's ultimately why you gotta you gotta, what does it say? Lean not on your own understanding, because you gotta have the understanding first and foremost of what the Bible says. Again, remember, when it says it in the Bible, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, okay? Your opinion is irrelevant when it comes to the Bible, okay? So that being said, let's go and move on to Ezekiel 36 and 31. It says, because ultimately what's going to happen is that in this truth coming out, ultimately what's going to happen is there's going to be two sets of people. There's going to be people who hear this truth and they're going to wake up and they're going to be like, fuck yeah, you know, that's the truth. And that's because their life path by the will of the Lord has been set in a certain way, and they've been taught certain things and they've experienced certain things. So that way, by the time you receive this truth, you hear these words, you now can receive it, and you could take it in and you could ingest it, and you could start to turn yourself to the ways of back to God, and that's a good thing, right? But there's other people who, again, through the will of the Lord rejected them, that they never received that experience, they never received that training, I guess you could say. So when they hear these words, they're like, I never heard about King David. Oh, who's King Solomon? No, never heard about that. Or no, I don't know what this means. Like, it won't mean anything to them. So hence they then fall by the wayside, right? They then are taken by the doctrines of this world, okay? And they use those as foundations. And we've all seen this, right? If you go back to the C-19 pandemic, remember all these Edomites and all these atheists that were losing their shit because the government was out there basically telling them the world was going to end, and you know, all this stuff. And these are the people that had the double mask, the face shields, and you know, a perfect example of this is Sam Harris, a famous atheist, right? That made the rounds, and a lot of people, even I would listen to him once in a while because you know he was a mighty man of wisdom. He gave a lot of knowledge, but though when the time came, and his own government that is, came and basically came down upon him, he had no foundations other than the establishment, and his ass was losing it, right? Just look up Sam Harris reaction to COVID pandemic. You're gonna see he was one of these fucking crazies, and that's how ultimately it is for a lot of the people in this world who don't have a foundation in God, don't have a foundation in the truth, right? They're falling for Esau's tricks, right? And every day, you know, or not should I say every day, but a lot. Me and my wife, we always talk about like we're calm as cucumbers, man. We don't, with all this shit going on, we don't really see all this crazy things going on, and we're like, you know, despairing. In fact, we're actually cheering, right? The sad part that is affecting us is that the separation that's going on right now. I'm sure a lot of you all can know. A lot of you have seen it where family members, friends are just going away because ultimately everybody's kind of pulling themselves away. And this is ultimately biblical, that the Lord is separating the wheat from the tares, right? And he's separating groups of people, right? People are just separating themselves again, because that's a division that the Lord was bringing. Now, that being said, that is getting to us, but ultimately all this panic and media scare that goes out, that shit doesn't affect us. Because why? Because our foundation is in God's words. We know what's going on. The Lord gave us the cheat sheet, right? We know how this all plays out. We know how this ends. But the people who are stuck in this world that me and my wife talk about, we can understand why they're losing their shit, why they're talking about, oh, we gotta get on the anti-vax people, we gotta get on these people who don't want to comply, we gotta lock them up, right? Because they're losing their shit. They have no foundation, and all the thing that the foundation they have is that false foundation, that foundation of sand, which is ultimately crumbling. Okay. So that being said, let's go and get Ezekiel 36 and 31. It says, "Then shall ye remember your own evil ways and your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities." And again, just so that we know, iniquity is sin upon sin upon sin, right? A lot of people that are stuck in this world that don't know the true name of God, and hence don't know how to call upon God to remove that sin from you. When they're praying to Jesus, Jeshua, Jehovah, whatever, that sin stays on you and stuff, okay? This is why those people never get fucking better, right? And eventually what happens is all that sin that is built up is now iniquity, right? It's a horde collection of sin, right? And that's why those people continually have nothing but bad problems fall upon them, okay? Because they've been praying to the wrong name, right? They have all that iniquity built up upon them. And for your abominations, not for your sakes do I this, saith Yahweh B'Shem Yashai power, be it known unto you, be ashamed and confounded for your own ways, O house of Israel. Okay? So that being said, the Lord is ultimately, he, like it says here, he eventually will wake us up. Well, 1/3 of us up, okay? He's going to wake up the 144,000 plus the 1/3 of Israel. That's 1 out of every 3 Negro, Latino, Native Americans who are going to awake to this truth and are going to realize what's really going on in the world. What's the true narrative of reality, right? And those Israelites who are going to wake up, right? Because again, they're going to be given the instructions on what to do, okay? And what they're going to do is first they're going to realize who they were, and they're going to wake up and they're going to realize all the evil that they've done. I'm sure all of us Akim out here who have, you know, woken up to this truth, and you look back to the things that you've done in this world, right? Be it you were wicked, or even things like celebrating Christmas or eating certain foods, or you know, shunning the Bible earlier on in your life when it was given to you and you rejected it. You start remembering these things and you start realizing, fuck, we really did drop the ball, right? But remember that the Lord ultimately did this to us to humble us, okay? And it goes back to my analogy about the rich kid and the poor kid, okay? The rich kid that everything is given to, and he finally comes of age and he's given all this power and rich and basically the trust fund babies, right? They grow up to be awful, horrible people the majority of the time. And that's because they were never put through any sort of adversity. On the contrary, you look at the poor kid who, in fact, once they raise up and they come of age and they find out that they have a vast amount of wealth and power that actually belongs to them, and they inherit all this in a state where they're coming from humbleness or a broken or a cast down state. These are the people who have the good moral fortitude and foundations within them to be these good leaders, to be these people that we reverence as good leaders. And that's ultimately what's going on with the nation of Israel, right? The Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, right? The Lord is cultivating and getting us right, so that way we could be ready for when the kingdom comes. We'll then be in a state where we'll be able to rule and ultimately judge our people and all the rest of the world. Okay, and that's ultimately what this is about. This is about us getting right, getting the instructions that we need, and getting ready to take our rightful place in this world. Because again, the Lord is getting ready to bring one that is profitable to reign over the world. So that being said, let's go and move on let's go back to Baruch actually. This is Baruch 4 and 6. This is ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath. Ye were delivered unto your enemies, for ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God. Ye have forgotten the everlasting God that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nourished you. And see, that ultimately there is the reason why you Negro, Latino, Native Americans have been destroyed as a people, and you've been delivered to your enemies. There's a reason why the Negroes were given to the so-called white men. There's a reason why the Latinos were given to the so-called Europeans. There's a reason why the Native American Indians were given onto the English and the Pilgrims and stuff, right? The cowboys, right? These Edomites. Is because you ultimately pissed off the Lord because you broke the covenant. You failed to meet your part of the contract where you would serve the Lord and he would then bless you and give you reign and rulership over the world, okay? And once we did that as a people, even me, in my past lives, I was part of it. As far as what part, I hope, it was a good part, right? We ultimately failed to fulfill that that part of our contract. And this is why the Lord ultimately punished us. But again, it's twofold. Like I told you, there's a reason we had to be trained up and cultivated and humbled down to so that way when the time comes we could receive this kingdom. But again, I believe it's because we ultimately broke that contract, that the Lord came down on us even worse than what he would have if we did not. But again, we're not here to talk about hypotheticals. The Lord planned everything out exactly the way it was supposed to be, and that's why we're here right now, okay? But we got to understand that the Lord did everything he did, not because he hated us, right? But because why? Let's read that again. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils, okay? So the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, we sacrificed to devils, meaning we were getting into all these other religions, right? Things that we thought were good and for our benefit, ultimately was for our destruction, okay? Because though it may have looked right for us because it had such a nice appeal to it, Christmas is so nice. It has all these presents and all these beautiful songs, and look at all the decorations and the way everybody lights up their houses, right? It may look good, but at the heart, it's a corrupted, evil idolatry. The brother Adam Nana brings out Isaiah 43 and 4. Since thou wast precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore will I give men for thee, and people for thy life. Exactly. So see, the Lord ultimately, when you understand what the Lord has done for the Israelites and the chosen people, and all these other nations that ultimately are going to perish because of the events that are going on, and the raising up of the Israelites, you understand how important we are as a people. A good example, if we look at this, is that pay no attention to this bug out. This is a fucking demon in disguise. So the thing is that when the Israelites were given the land of Canaan, right, the land there, what happened is the Lord told Joshua and the Israelites to go and basically slaughter and kill them. Okay, so those Canaanites were ultimately destroyed as a people. Now, when you ultimately read, when you start reading the beginning of Genesis, and you see that Abraham was given a place of refuge by the Canaanites and by the people in there, right? Abimelech, I believe, is one of his names, is one of the kings. What happened is ultimately these people were made to help foster and help create our people and stuff, right? So what happened is our people are basically being cultivated by the Lord, and the Lord is using these other nations who he's ultimately going to kill. Just like a lot of the 2/3 of our people who are wicked in this world and lost, the Lord's gonna fucking kill them, right? He's gonna bring down destruction and death, and ultimately he's gonna destroy and get rid of that line. But see, a lot of our people are naive to this, not realizing that they got a short time and that the Lord is soon gonna come upon them. And why is the Lord gonna do this? Well, because he's gonna save the part that he wants. He's gonna save the 1/3 of Israel, and he's gonna sacrifice the 2/3 of Israel for that, okay? And why, and how's that, for example? Look, Esau, he's gonna ultimately come down with these mark of the beast. He's gonna come down with all these regulations and all these things. And what is the Lord gonna do? Is he gonna let all that wickedness, that death, and all that, mischief come down upon the chosen elect, the 1/3 and the 144,000? No. It tells us that all this wickedness, all this evilness is going to come down upon the 2/3 of our people to the wicked, okay? And he's going to also use the wicked as a battering ram against these Edomites, right? He's going to sacrifice the 2/3 to be that battering ram upon these Edomites. You can see it right now. If you go online and you see all the white people being attacked on the streets by blacks and Latinos and all these other people, those, when it says, "In the hand of the wicked shall come upon them," that's talking about the 2/3 that are going to come upon these Edomites, and start to destroy them and start to bring them down as a people. So let's go and get back to this. So there you go, man. So now let's go and get back to let's go to Revelations 2 and 5. So now that we understand why the Lord took us out of our land, he made us lose our heritage, he humbled us down, but he's gonna wake us up again, the 1/3 of our people, that is, right? And we're in the re-waking up of the 1/3, we're going to remember ourselves, and we're going to remember the detestable shit we did, but that's going to be used as a catalyst to get us right with the Lord, to get us back in our proper set of, mindset, okay? But let's go and read this. This is Revelations 2:5. Remember, therefore, from whence thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works, or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent. Okay? So remember, we got to repent, meaning got to come back, penance, right? We got to do those penances again. What is that penance? That's obeying the law, right? Basically, I'm trying to remember how the elder Manata Zakba put this, right? Basically, by doing penance is a form of doing the law, because again, it's a struggle in some cases, right? It's a limitation of what you want to do, right? You stop yourself, you give yourself penance to not eat that pork even though it looks delicious, right? Or same thing, you do penance by not eating that shrimp because it looks great, right? So you restrict yourself, and you're doing those works, right? And this is pretty much how the way the laws are, right? The laws restrict us from doing things that one, to an Israelite that's in his right mind, knows that's an abominable state, and henceforth the act itself is abomination, and then you don't want it. But to those Israelites that are in the wrong state of mind, eating pork, eating shrimp, practicing Christmas, all these different things, voting in elections, all that it seems like it's a hard thing to do, because you don't see it as an abominable act. So hence it's a struggle, and then ultimately once you go back to the law, you repent, and you do the first works, which is keeping the laws, it becomes more and more. The water, beautiful. The brother Adam Nana brings out the term penitence, voluntary self-punishment inflicted as an outward expression of repentance for having done wrong, right? So beautiful, right? So again, just like when we a perfect example, the way that we do penitence is the Day of Atonement, right? You keep yourself from eating food, because why? Because it's a way that we afflict our souls, okay? We do this so that way we could show that we're punishing ourselves for going off and doing things, right? Just like when you're coming into this truth, and you find out that, oh man, you accidentally turned on the stove, or what you ate had pork in it or something, and you didn't know, right? It afflicts your soul, and hence you throw that burger away. You turn off the stove, or certain things. Those are self-voluntary punishments that you do, right? Because you went off and you broke the law. So again, it says here that the Lord, let's read it again. Remember, therefore, from whence thou art fallen. Where have we fallen from? We fell from our state of being Israelites that used to know that we were Israelites, who used to perform acts that the Israelites did, which is keeping the laws that were given onto us. Okay? Not because we joined some building and some religion and we started just to want to be part of a group. No, because we are the Israelites. Our parents birthed us, and this is our heritage, this is our nationality, this is who we are as a people. Not because we want to, but because this is who we are as a people. Okay? So that's where we've fallen from. So it says, and repent, meaning come back to that, okay? And do the first works. What are the first works? Falling back and doing the commandments which were given to us when we left out of Egypt, right? Those are the first works. Fulfilling the law to the best of our ability. And remember, you got to remember, we're not going to be able to keep the laws exactly the way they're supposed to be kept in this kingdom, because this kingdom is wicked, man. Right now, me and my wife were on a kick trying to find 100% cotton clothes. Do you know how hard it is to find cotton that's 100% cotton or linen? That shit's fucking almost impossible, man. And the clothes that is that way is because it's so expensive, because these elites at the very top, they know. And see, and the reason why we're doing it is not because we're trying to keep the law, which I really would love to be able to keep the law, but you can't, because your shoes, they're all mixed fabric and all that stuff. But it's because there's a benefit in keeping your clothing as one fabric, right? It benefits your energy, right? it doesn't mess up your vibe, okay? And it's better for your health. You recover faster. You don't feel drained. That's one thing I've learned recently, Akim. You ever have days where you're all just drained, you have no energy, whatever? It's because a lot of times when you wear like polyester or synthetic materials, the energy force, right? Because remember, your body your heart is an engine, and that engine creates like an energy field around you, which is referred to as a toroidal field. The Earth has the same thing, coming from the North Pole down to the South Pole. We have the same exact things, okay? Well, that energy that our body gives off, when it hits the fabric that you're wearing, if it's a synthetic fabric, that energy field gets all discombobulated and everything. And then over time of wearing all these fabrics, throughout weeks or months, what happens is your body, it's just not going to produce that energy field all the time. It's like, what's a perfect example of this? Imagine you have a heater on in your house, right? And then somebody keeps opening up the window and letting all the cold air in, right? What does everybody in the room say? Close that fucking window, right? And that's because you're messing up the energy that's been heated up. Same thing with our energy fields, for the most part. But yeah. So the point being is that we can't keep the laws perfectly in this kingdom, right? Be it if you're doing it because you want to keep the laws, or because you're seeking the beneficial traits that keeping the laws do. It is very hard to keep laws in this wicked ass kingdom, because this place is not set up to follow the Bible, and that's because the children of Satan are running this world. Okay, so that being said, we have to come back and still perform them to the best of our ability, and by doing those first works, the Lord won't take our candle from us, meaning He won't reject us, and we then get kicked out of this truth, and then end up like a bug out, like that guy that was right behind me, like screaming and shit, man. See, so that being said, let's read this, because a lot of people, and it's crazy because if you speak to a Christian and you're in this truth, you then understand all the Christian tropes and lies that are told to the Christians, so that way they can continue to sin. And it's fucking crazy when you understand this, because you don't go to church to learn how to keep the law. You don't go to church to learn what the Bible says. You go to church to find all the little gotcha scriptures, so that way you could fucking sin. And it's funny because when you look at Judaism, the religion of the false Jews over there in the land of Israel today, their Judaism is based on ways to fucking try to find loopholes in God's laws. Okay? Hence why they string wires from an apartment all out throughout cities, so that way hence the outside world is a part of your inside apartment, so hence you're not really going outside, and hence you could break this law. See, that's Esau's mentality, man. Esau's mentality is finding a way around God's law and trying to break it without having the curses fall upon you. See, us Israelites, we're trying to keep the laws because we want to keep the laws, not because we're trying to get around the laws. No. Okay? So that being said, let's go and read this. This is Matthew 5:17, because a lot of Christians try to come with that false excuse that these churches teach them, that, oh, Jesus came and he did away with the law. You don't have to keep the law anymore. But what did the Messiah himself say? What did Yahawashi, which is the true Hebrew name of the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which is Hebrew for He is salvation, He delivers. What does He say? It says, Matthew 5:17, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. What He means there by law and prophets, the law is the first 5 books of the Bible. The prophets is the rest of the Old Testament, okay? Remember, when the Messiah came on the scene, there was no such thing as the New Testament. His stories and the disciples' stories that was with them wrote the New Testament, okay? So that being said, and actually also the Apocrypha would be considered like the prophets, all right? That would be part of the Old Testament, because the Apocrypha was basically recent history for the Messiah and all the Israelites that were still in the land of Jerusalem when the New Testament was written. So it's verse 17, think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. This law will always stand in truth. Okay, it's always going to be here. The law is not done away with. The law is still here. What is done away with is the punishment for not fulfilling the law. Okay, so when you eat pork, you eat shrimp, you celebrate Christmas, you have still broken the law, but you no longer have to go and sacrifice, two turtle doves or two goats and stuff. You don't have to do that anymore, right? That because one, you can't even do it anymore because the temple has been destroyed, and there's no more Levitical priests in the right state to be able to perform those rituals for you. Okay, that law of sacrifice has been done away with. So the new cleansing is was the sacrifice that the Messiah made when he came. Okay, and by us believing in him, understanding what he did, we now have that blood of the Yahweh Shai upon us, and we now understand that he died for our sins. So hence we now no longer fall under the curses, the punishment of breaking the law, but the law is still there. And what does the law say? Let's go real quick to the very end of the Bible, right? The very end of the Bible. This is where you know there's no more. What does it say at the end? Right? Let's cut to the end, right? Revelation 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates of the city. What city? New Jerusalem. Be part of the 1/3 and the 144,000 that are going to make up that new city known as Jerusalem, right? City of peace, Jerusalem. Okay? You want to be part of that city, and how do you do that? By keeping the laws, right? Keeping the laws of the Lord's commandments. Okay? And we're going to finish off on this, because one thing you got to understand is that keeping these laws, though when you first come into this truth, they may be hard because you're craving that bacon burger, you're craving that pepperoni on the pizza, you're craving to be part of that Christmas celebration, you're craving to go out and dress up like a demon and do all that wickedness on Halloween, right? But once you come in and you understand this truth into a more perfect way, and you've polished this knowledge and stuff, you understand that keeping these laws isn't a restriction. It's actually a benefit. It is power. Okay, and it gives you benefits, right? Like I said again, for the Akim that are in this truth, you understand. You've seen it yourself. I'm sure you've experienced it. We are getting blessed, while the rest of these people in this world are getting cursed. Okay, and this is what the Lord told us about these laws. Okay, because remember, these laws is not a hard thing. Keeping them is not a hard thing, and it shouldn't be considered a punishment to try to follow the law. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 4:5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh B'Shem Shai, my power, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. You see that? By this law, this knowledge that we got that is heavenly derived, is our wisdom and power in front of all these other nations. Okay, they're going to understand when we could perform these laws, and we're getting all these benefits, and we're getting blessed. All these other nations, though they may not understand it, they're going to say, "Man, those so-called those blacks are amazing athletes. Those Latinos are amazing singers, right? They're amazing soccer players, right?" See, the thing is these are superpower here on earth, okay? But the thing is that the world has been so misled and turned unspiritual that they don't understand what the benefit is of following these laws. It says, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who hath God so nigh unto them. The world, when they finally come into the right understanding of how the Bible works and who God is actually dealing with, then they're going to realize, man, God is really dealing with those Negro, Latino, Native Americans. But at that point, they're really going to say, ultimately, man, God is dealing with his Israelites, right? Because they're going to understand that we're a special people, that we're not just some random people here that just have good talents. No, we're a blessed people because God is near unto us, okay? It says, as Yahweh, our power is in all things that we call upon him for. And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. So this was a warning, and this was a warning from Moses back in the days that these laws would ultimately be a benefit to us, that these other nations would look upon us and understand that this is the information given by God, right? And ultimately, what's going to happen is the laws that are found in these Bibles, though they are strict in certain cases, they're ultimately righteous laws, okay? And by them, we prosper as a people. Humanity will flourish on this world instead of it languishing like it is now, okay? Because again, there's a certain way to live on this earth, and that's by following the commandments of the Lord, because these are the instructions that need to be followed by living here upon the face of the earth, not the ways of the devil, where he wants to have and have without any I guess you say any sort of restriction. Okay, these devils can't have enough. That is the spiritual trait of these demons, right? To be a bottomless pit that could never be satiated. So either way, Akim, hopefully this video was edifying. Let's go and give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukakwadash, Brakathe Yahweh, Brakathe Yahushai, Brakathe Yahweh, Brakathe Yahushai, Brakathe Yahweh, Brakathe Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukakwadash. The water, Akim, for joining this week. Hopefully you were edified. If you have any questions, go and put them down in the comment board. I'll see you, Akim, Lord willing, next week. And I'll see you throughout the week with the lessons, right? Shalom, Akim.